Hello, this is Ashi from Crafting with Ashi and welcome to this video. This is a project we're going to be making today. It's this little card holder. As you can see here, I've got an envelope, so you can see you can hold the envelopes and the cards in here, and this is very solid, as you can see, because it's actually made out of chipboard. And I've decorated it using the Toil and Tidings Designer Series paper and some ribbon and things. So let me show you how I made this. Okay, so let's get started. I've used some black chipboard that I got from Amazon, and I've already cut the pieces. Your back piece will measure 6.5 inches by 5 inches, and then you've got two side pieces that measure 6.5 inches by 3.5 inches. You've got your base that measures 5 inches by 3.5 inches, and your front that measures 5 inches by 3 inches. But don't worry, all those measurements will be on the blog post that goes with this video. So let's start with our back piece. And to attach everything together, we're going to be using binding strips. And these are just pieces of cardstock, and I've cut them down. They'll measure 1 inch across, and I've cut them down to the length here so that they measure 6.5 inches the same, and then I've scored them in half at 1.5 inches. So all we need to do now is just burnish on that line, and then so you've got your piece folded in half like that. Then I'm going to take my scissors, and at the very ends here I'm just going to snip off a little bit so I've mited the corners like that. Okay, you can see. Alright, get rid of these little bits here so they don't get glue on them or something. Okay, and now to make this box we're going to be using, as I said, binding strips, and you can just use one strip if you want, like here on the inside, but I've actually for security used one on the inside, and then I'm going to put another one on the outside as well. So this one's going to go here. So I'm using Tombow, as it really does make life much easier than trying to use glue. Trying to use tape for this, because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So I've put glue there on the one side, and then all I'm going to do is line it up on the edge here of my piece of chipboard so it lines up like that, so the two are flush together like that. Okay, as you can see, and then we're just going to do exactly the same on the other side. So another binding strip, fold it in half, and then we're just going to snip off the ends, and then again put some glue down, and line it up. Okay, so it's lined up like that at the edges. Having the bit of having the Tombow gives you the wriggle room you're going to need. So now we want to we can start to attach our sides. So if I get my side pieces, here's one of them, and we're just going to butt it up along here and then attach it. So all I'm going to do is put some glue down here on this piece here, and then I'm going to bring these two pieces of chipboard together so that they're totally flush together. You don't want any gap like you would if you were doing a mini album. So you just want them totally together, push them together, and then whoopsie daisy, That wasn't meant to happen, was it? Line them up again, and then put your binding strip down, and you'll see, there you go, there's your piece attached. And I know it looks floppy at the moment, but when you get all your pieces together it will come together properly. Okay, so that's why I like as well, if you think it's a bit floppy on the ends there, that's why I like to do the 2 binding strips, because I feel it just gives it added security. So now I'm going to put in our other side piece, and I'm going to again put glue down. Then I'm going to add this. Butt it up. Maybe it's easier for me this way. It doesn't. I just hold it there for a second so the glue can take. I don't always have the patience to hold it, which is a fault of mine, unfortunately. But there we go. Okay, so there you can see it's starting to come together. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do on the outside, and then you'll be able to sort of follow it through. So I'm going to put some binding strips again on the outside, and I've got 2 more here. I'm going to fold these in half, both of them. Okay, and I'm just going to snip again the edges on that one, and do the same for this one here, and snip it again, and snip again. Okay, so just get those out the way, and I'm going to show you just now how I'm going to do the reverse binding on the other side, and then I'm going to do the same for all of them as I go around, and I'll just put you on fast forward for that so you don't have to watch all of it. So I'm just going to put glue here on both sides. Okay, and you're going to want to bring up your box, and you want it to be perpendicular, and you need to be able to see your score line. I know it's really difficult to see on the camera, but you're just going to butt it up into your score line and then butt it up again. I know it's difficult to see, I'm sorry about that, but you can see here now, there, sort of, but you see how beautiful the black is against the black. You can hardly see your joins, which is why it's so good to use the black chipboard. Now you can really see there how that's giving you the stability on that side. I'm going to do the same on this side. So put your glue down. Find your score line and butt your paper up into it. And just give it a really good press to get it to take and stick, as you want it stuck down real good. Okay, so there you can see you've got a lot more stability now. So I'm going to continue to do that with all my pieces, and I'll put you on fast forward for that. So there is our box made. So I hope you saw everything. As I said, the measurements will be on the blog post, but as you can see, it's pretty sturdy. It's not wobbling about, you know, so it really is quite good. And don't worry about all these seams everywhere if you're worried about that showing, because we're going to cover that now with paper. And because it's black on black, once you put the paper on, you're not going to see any of that. So as I said, the paper we're going to be using is the Toil and Tidings paper. And the measurements I said, I won't give them to you now, they'll be on my blog, but this is the patterns we're going to be using. So I'm using this gingham type pattern for inside. So I'm going to start with that, and again I'm just going to, because I have it out, I'm just going to go with my Tombow. One thing I want to say about making the box, yes, using the binding strips, I won't deny at times can be fiddly, but I've never used binding strips before in my life except in that first box I made, and that's the only one I've made besides the one I'm making now with you. And it actually is really simple. You just, the only trick I would say you need to do is to take your time about things. Don't rush it, don't panic, just think it through and take your time. Don't be rushed. I think that's one of the problems we make when we do crafting, is we, especially when we go to retreats or things like that. I don't know about you, but certainly with me, you sit there and you see, oh, that one over there, she's finished, and I'm only like halfway through, and you know, I'm a slow crafter, and you know, I'm way behind everyone else, and you know, don't let it get to you. Everyone works at their own pace, and there is nothing wrong with that at all. Some of us will be faster at some things, some people will be slower at some things. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, so there we've got our inside piece in, and as you saw, I was just giving it a good press down with my bone folder to make sure that it's well and truly stuck. So everything's sort of stuck down, as you can see. Okay, so let me close up my Tombow because, well, you know, let me remind myself now. I'm going to remind myself. I'm going to get a tissue, but that's all I've got up here with me, and clean off the top of my Tombow properly, because I always forget to do that, and then it's always a gunky mess afterward. Okay, so now we have our box, and now what are we going to do is we are going to wrap some ribbon round like that. So I'm just going to measure roughly how much I need, which is somewhere around there, and this is the Real Red something or other runched ribbon. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to put the box aside for a second. I'm going to get out some tear and tape if I can find it. Where is it? It's hiding from me. There it is. I found it. Here we go. Now we're in business. Oh, I thought we were if we found the edge, that is. Okay, so now we are going to put a bit of tear and tape down right along the centre of our ribbon, all the way to the edge, and this is what's going to keep it stuck down. Now, to make sure, as I said before, tear and tape is a contact adhesive, so it needs a good burnish to make sure it's stuck to its base. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just give it a good press down like that, and then I'm going to take off some of the backing, not all of it, because otherwise it is going to stick to everything and anything. And I'm going to measure roughly to see that I've got it there in the back, that I get it at the right level. So let's take off this tape again. Now we can take it all off that we've measured. We've got it roughly in the center. Stick it down, and you just sort of want to try and keep it as straight as possible. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. This is handmade, it is not meant to be perfect. Humans aren't perfect. It's what makes us humans, is what makes us interesting, the fact that we're not perfect. Okay, so there we go. There we have our little bit of ribbon. Now I wanted some more ribbon, because you can never have enough ribbon, can you? So again, we're just going to measure it roughly, and that comes to somewhere around there. And again, I'm going to put it down here and get my tear and tape. Oh, okay. This one you need to be a little bit more careful how you put your tear and tape down, because it's not as wide as your real red ribbon is, so you don't want the tear and tape to go over the edge. You want to keep it all on the ribbon. So just take your time and do a little bit at a time until you get to the end, and then trim off the end. Okay, do the same as before, give it a good press down. You can see having the tear and tape actually gives the ribbon a lot of stability, makes it much more, you can see, makes it much more stable. And now I'm going to start at the back as before, in the same place we had the seam, and then I'm just going to wind it round, pulling the backing off as I go round and pressing down. And then I can see I've got a bit too much, so I'm just going to, and I don't mind about that showing at the back, I don't think it looks that bad, but if you do, you can put something to cover up the seam. It's your choice, it's your bag, you don't have to follow me by rote. This is just a guideline, it's not gospel. Okay, so that's what we have so far. So now, much easier bits. I have here a little scrap of our gingham paper, and I've used one of these stickers. Now these are the stickers for the memory and more cards for the night before Christmas, and I'm just going to use this one that says warmest wishes, and I'm just going to place it in the middle of our piece of paper, and then I'm going to measure roughly something like that I've got, except I haven't got it straight. That I do want if possible my sentiment to be as straight as possible. Yeah, that looks better. You know, I'm just gonna, yeah, that's better. And then I've got a piece here of the what's this colour did I say? Garden green. And here I am going to go back to my snail for speed and ease, if I can get it to work right way around. And all I'm going to do here is just mat it up on my piece of garden green, as you can see, like that. And then I'm going to use my bigger scissors, because I find it makes it much easier. And I'm just going to eyeball it around the edges. Okay, a bit like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to stick it down flat. I haven't put any dimension up, but you know what, let's this time put some dimension. Why don't we be different? Where's my dimension? My, what do you call these things? Dimensionals. Dimension. I don't want, I'm putting quite a few on because I don't want this to fall off. Okay, so then we're just going to plonk it in the centre there, something like that. Okay, and then I used here some of these are Toil and Tidings glitter enamel dots. I'm just actually going to use the green ones this time. Last time I used red and green, but here I'm just going to use the green, and I'm just going to put a little line here starting there. I'm going to do, there's 4 sizes here, so I'm just going to do the 4 biggest size, all 4 sizes. Okay, so clear the decks. That's what we have now. That's what we made. That's the one I made before. Okay, so which do you prefer? Let's take this out here. Which do you prefer? With the straight edges or with the sloped edges? Let me know in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, I'd be grateful if you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to future videos. As I said, all the information about the project will be on the blog post on my website, and the links to my website and all my social media links are in the description box below. If you, what else was I going to say? I'm losing my words today. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye!